It's episode 69 of the Improv London podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Moses, and this week's guest is Emma Tribe.
Hello!
Hello!
I'm so pleased to be here for episode 69, which is definitely the funniest number. My next door neighbours live at number 69, and I've accidentally sent stuff to them because I've been chuckling over the number.
What would giving your address
the worst thing was, so I was ordering a bra on the internet, and also and other lingerie items, and I didn't want to be it's not something that you want to collect from your neighbour's house as well. And I think I was it would be really funny if I put into this web thing, it's number 69. I don't even know if it was that much or if it was just subconscious, and then I clicked buy, and then I saw what address I'd sent it to, and I went, oh shit.
So your neighbours open your parcels if they get delivered to them?
No, but I then had to I was really worried about it because I was so I wrote a really nice little note being I'm really sorry, I couldn't change it, I sent it to your address by accident, so sorry, I'll be by later to pick it up, just keep an ear out for it. And they were really sweet about it, and also really protective of my package. Aww. And we've been keeping it safe for you and waiting to give it to you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, you're in ABOB.
I'm in ABOB, yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
That's a good group to be in.
I'm glad. I mean, it's the only group I'm in. Other members of the group are improv sluts and in multiple groups, but I'm pretty loyal.
Yes. You have some old-fashioned but traditional ideas
traditional values
about,
that, commit to one group.
Yes, exactly. Make a success of that.
Is it monogroupist? No, does that even work? Like a monogamist, but...
Monogamous.
Monogamous.
You're a monogamous.
Monogamist.
You're a monogroupist.
Monogroupist. That's it.
I think I understand why people are in more than one group, because you get to do more than one style of improv and you get more performance opportunities. But I like people who are only in one group. I mean,
I get really outraged about it, but really it's because no one's asked me to be in their group.
Aww.
In that other group, it's, everyone else has gone off and had all these fun, exciting opportunities to form new groups. I'm just no one asked me along.
Would you like to be in a two-prov group with me?
Of course.
Brilliant. Right, we'll sort that out. And
then I'll just have to pour dirt over everything I've ever said.
Oh no, I don't want to make you a hypocrite. I rescind my invitation. Oh, it's so confusing. Yes, so tell me what ABOB are up to at the moment.
ABOB, we get up on stage, we get a suggestion from the audience, and then we make stuff up. It's as simple as that.
Right, okay.
No, what are we up to? We are currently developing our own format.
Cool.
So we've been playing around with this idea called the Abobalypse.
The Abobalypse.
Name came before the format.
As all good improv formats should.
We had ABOB, and we were talking about apocalypse, and Abobalypse is what came of it. And we found a really complex way to shoehorn that name into a show. We've tried a couple of times and sort of mixed results. Some bits work, some bits don't.
Right.
So we're workshopping that. And our coach at the moment is Carleen from C3 Something.
Lovely.
Yeah, so we're utilising her to go and teach us how to improv.
Cool. So can you explain a little bit about how the Abobalypse format works or doesn't work?
I can draw you a diagram, but it's not great for the audio. That's what I always do. People ask me and I'm like, Just give me a whiteboard. Also, it's great that in the nursery, all of the rooms, and also in Theatre Deli, I think some of the rooms have whiteboard.
Yeah.
So useful, because I like to draw out what it is.
I do wonder, though, if a format requires a whiteboard, is that too complicated?
Possibly? Maybe, the two formats that I have made, I do like to... the other format I've made is called The Tribe.
The Tribe, marvellous.
Marvellous, and, you know...
You were thinking, should I call it that Emma, or should I... Good choice.
Because I like to name things after myself. And if it's not going to be like a scientific unit or something really good, it's going to be an improv format. That'll be my contribution to the world.
So tell me about how The Tribe works.
I'll tell you about The Tribe works first. Which we've never done on... No, I did it on stage once. I came up with it in a Maria long-form formats class.
Right, yes.
And so how that works is you have one person who is essentially the protagonist, and they are in every scene.
Right.
So show starts with them and show finishes when they exit the stage. You've actually seen it.
Right, okay.
Not that you might not remember. This was like maybe a year ago before.
Right, okay. For the benefit of the listener, I'm pretending that I don't remember and encourage you to explain it in full.
That's it. If you said, I'd have been stopped.
Yeah, move on.
Move on. That's it.
So much more stuff to talk about. We haven't got time to talk about this whole format that you've created. Because someone might listen to this and think, hey, that's the format, and it might spread.
It might spread.
Yes.
And it's The Tribe, just so everyone knows. I don't care about royalty amounts or anything like that. It's just as long as my name gets propagated with the format. You've got the central character, the protagonist, and they first off in the first round they have a scene for about 7 people. They have a scene with the other 6 people on the back line who are all coming in, being characters, interacting with this person. It's also all set in one location.
Right, yeah.
Not necessarily all in the same time frame, but one location. So they run through with all these different characters, and it's always, the character that needs to come on next, and so on. When that round finishes, the last person stays on, and they're joined by 2 more people from the back line, keeping their characters that they already were. So you've then got 4 people on stage with the protagonist. They all then leave the stage, and then the other 3 people from the back line have a stage with the protagonist. And then everyone comes on, and you've got all 7 people, and often it ends up like an intervention.
Right, okay.
For this main character, and then when the main character goes off to do whatever it is they need to do, the show finishes.
Wow.
But you see why I like to have a diagram to explain it?
Yes. No, I can see how a diagram... yes, I can see how a diagram might help. So how come you were getting to create your own formats in Maria's long-form class?
It's a specific one, Maria's long-form formats class.
Right.
So the whole class was on teaching us different formats, and then at the end we got a chance to make some up.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It's a good class, that one. I'd
Cool.
recommend it.
Cool.
Maria's a good teacher.
She is a very good teacher, yes. Talking of good teachers, so you're being coached by Carleen at the moment,
Yes.
Carleen McDermott, and what does she bring to the improv table?
The improv table. So we've had 2 sessions with Carleen so far. What does she bring? She's teaching us skills that we don't usually do,
Yes.
that we find tough at the moment, and she's asking us searching questions that, when you're like, we don't need to ask each other these questions, and, Carleen sits down and says, where is your goat going? What are the aims? All of this stuff. Which is really good and needs to happen. Those sort of like awkward conversations. But it's not really that awkward because Carleen's lovely.
Oh, that's interesting, though, that she's kind of coaching the group, but in how the group works.
Well, I think it was, so like she just wanted to understand. If she's coming in to coach a group, she wants to understand where we're going, and we then had to work it out.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and what is it? Our last session, so she's helping us with our Abobolyps format. So she was teaching us a format that's similar to this Abobolyps to help us get some of the skills that we need before putting it all together. Because I will explain how we do the Abobolyps. I'm really sorry for the lack of diagrams, because it would honestly make this so much easier.
Well, if you want to draw a diagram while explaining, I will take a picture and then I will tweet it, and then people can refer to the diagram.
I've got so many pictures of diagrams on my phone. I'll draw you a beautiful one later. I've only got one colour of pen at the moment, and it really needs at least 4.
This format terrifies me.
So we get a source of irritation from the audience, like what's irritated you today, and a non-geographical location. So the first round, we do a 2-person grounded scene in that non-geographical location, and it's got to just sort of it's the real world, things are happening, very grounded. And then we move on to some like monologues, which are like sort of talking heads, sort of character testimonials, and it's taking that source of irritation that we were given at the beginning and then extrapolating it to how it ended the world. So it might be, let me think of it. So it might be, you might get really irritated when you cut a lemon and you get lemon juice in your eye. And it must be something like, there's a big sale on lemons and we thought it'd be fine and now we're all blind. Or and you just sort of pull out some like diverse repercussions of what's going on with this reason for ending the world. And then the final sort of round is scenes in this post-apocalyptic world. So using sort of what was said in the monologues, and also bringing back the characters that were in the real world, now into the what are they like in the apocalypse world.
Right.
To sort of show the contrast.
Cool.
Now that everyone's, lost their eyesight from lemon juice or something. Yeah.
That sounded more simple than I was expecting.
Maybe I just complicate things.
But it's interesting that you're drawn to the complicated format, the format that needs diagrams. Is that something you replicate?
This wasn't just me making this up.
Right,
I will
okay.
say, like, there was about 7 or 8 people involved.
Right, okay.
Over various points in the genesis of this complex.
Okay, I'm both blaming you and giving you all the credit because I created the tribe, so I presumed you were the main person behind the apocalypse.
No, you'd know if I'd created this because it would be like the Emma-ocalypse.
The Emma-ocalypse. I'd like to see the Emma-ocalypse. That sounds quite delightful.
My ego is not such that I couldn't stand to have it not named after me.
So you and Abob, you've also trained with Keith Mulder before.
Yes, yeah. So Keith Mulder was our original coach. So we formed in a Chris Mead long form workshop back in, I think it was March 2016. And so after that, we went to one of the, I think it was like the Hoopla mixers or...
Oh, yeah.
It was either done by someone. And I think that was where we met Keith, who was offering to be a coach. Or maybe... That was where we met Arfie, who was offering to be a coach.
Right, I remember Arfie offering to be a coach. Yes.
Yeah, that was where we met Arfie offering to be a coach. We met Keith offering to be a coach. Meredith found him.
Right.
At one of these C3 something jams. And
I like to think Keith and Arfie sort of had a fight to see who would coach you.
Well, what we what we had done for a long time is maybe use Arfie like once a month and use Keith the rest of the time.
Right, okay.
Because they're quite different as coaches.
Yes. I've never
and
been
as
coached by
people.
them, but I know them as people and performers, and yes, they are very different, yes.
They're very different. So it gave us...
Together they're one rounded individual. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm really sorry.
a super improviser.
Yes, they're a super individual if you combine them together. I'm a terrible
Or a
person.
super coach.
Super coach. Excellent. Nicely saved. Sorry, carry on talking. I'm just going to shush.
Yeah, so that was how. I don't think I was going anywhere else.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Because I was just interested in what is it about the C3 something approach that attracts you or a Bob?
They have been super welcoming. We like their coaching style. Keith's one was quite nice. So he was just starting out as a coach and we was just starting out as a group. So I think we were both sort of finding our dynamic together, which was nice. And we are a house team at C3 something.
So what does that mean?
That means that once a month on a Sunday evening, the first Sunday evening of the month at 8 p.m, we do a show.
Wow.
With the other house teams, which are 20% less, Talking Dog, and One With, One Without.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've not heard of One With, One Without. I shall have to speak to somebody from that group and ask them about their group rather than asking you to describe their group, because that seems unfair.
Yeah. How much have I been paying attention to this? It's a quiz. They're two prov.
Cool.
If that narrows it down.
Right, okay, cool. What I find useful about doing a C3 something drop-in, I've never been coached by anyone, but I've done plenty of the drop-ins, is that their way of approaching things is very different from my natural way of performing. So I find I learn loads. I once did a John Agapew drop-in, and you know, the way of transitioning from scene to scene, I just came away and I was like, oh, that's how it's done. I'm like, I could sort of half work it out from watching it, but when he actually went through it, how it all worked, I thought, oh, right, it is still magic, but I sort of understand how you do the magic now.
I think it was, Carlene had like one of those sort of amazing explanations that it's like, now it makes sense, the difference between organic and premise. You know, with premise-based improv, you're just further along the line before finding the unusual thing or game, whereas with organic you've just got a little bit extra legwork to get to that point.
Right, yes, that's really interesting.
I don't know if I've done her like amazing explanation any justice. You know, if that wasn't a great explanation, it's because Carlene's was perfect.
Right, fair enough.
I'm not good at paraphrasing.
So yeah, and also you presented a show at the Miller recently while Hoopla were away on holiday. So
we had a great opportunity. I mean, I think I did one show Friday night before, which was one of the breaking and entering nights, where I got to be in the playground swingers.
Cool. What was that like?
Oh, it was so much fun. And like the other people were so good. And also it was a Friday night audience, and Friday night audiences are like the best.
Right, okay.
I mean, because like they've come from work, so they've not made all of the effort to come into London. They were already in London. And then they've had a few post-work drinks, and they don't have to get up in the morning for anything. And they're willing to laugh. It's not an empty room.
Yes.
So you know, it was great that Hoopla swanned off and we were able to nab the Miller on a Friday night in August.
Were there any lessons learnt from organising your own event? Or was it just great? If it was just great, that's fine.
It was just great.
From an artistic side, it certainly was, but...
you were there.
I was there.
Because you were like, because I've got a few tips, Emma. I've got a whole booklet of how to do a night that I wanted to share with you. No.
I did share one of my... Was it that night that I was like, will everyone just stand in the light, please?
Yeah,
stand
yeah,
in the
you
light.
did, yeah.
I think that's an ongoing thing, and I think that's the thing, because I do a lot of tech, is the lighting is basic at the Miller, but just if you're being blinded by the light, then you're in the light and we can see you. Carry on.
I think the natural thing is, I don't want to be blinded.
I understand
I can't
that.
speak for everyone.
No, I do understand that. And in general, that's a very good self-preservation tactic.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching you in a show, I want you to be in the light.
No, I completely understand, because I have seen shows that are really dark, and I've also done that thing where you're the person who's like, you can't quite see, so you're squatting down while you're on stage.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you don't get all of the glare, and it just looks so bizarre. Actually, I did see, when I was doing my stand-up set, one of the people who was also on my course with me, bless him, he did like half of his show sort of squatting down with his hand over his eye.
Whoa, that's a bold choice.
So it was a bold choice.
So tell me about your stand-up career then.
My stand-up career consisted of one night.
Oh, fair enough.
I took up the Hoopla stand-up course because I think there was some special deal going on, and it was half price for me, and I can't resist a deal. So, my fear of doing stand-up was completely outweighed by, this is a real bargain.
So had you done improv by that point? Or,
yes. So that was, I'd done short form improv on stage.
Right.
So this was before I've discovered long form, or halfway through discovering long form. I think I did my Chris Mead long form class at the same time as I was doing the stand-up course.
Oh, right, okay, right.
Yeah, because
okay.
I went and sort of in the break said, guys, do you mind if I just do my stand-up set in front of you all and record it so I can cut the bits that don't laugh?
Wow, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what's your stand-up style?
Stand-up style is, this was a long time ago, it feels like now. I don't know, it was sort of awkward but enthusiastic, I guess.
Right,
yeah, just
okay.
me in life. Really try to stay close to life.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I made a few jokes about forages into Tinder, made a few jokes about incest, standard.
Well, yeah, it's the go-to well that we're all drawing from when we're doing our stand-up sets these days. My worry about stand-up is that people might, once I've left the stage, they might have been educated but not necessarily entertained or made to laugh, and that's fine because I do a bit of teaching. So in those sort of situations, it's very much what you're aiming for, but not necessarily on a Friday night at the Miller.
No, I think what I didn't like about it was, so I was used to like the transient nature of improv, which is you don't have to learn any lines.
There is that, yes.
You don't have to do any. You have to practice, but you don't have to write something, learn it, make it tight, and all of that. You go up there and you do the best you can, and at the end of the day, it was all made up. Whereas, with stand-up, you feel so much more vulnerable about putting a piece of yourself up on stage because you've written it and you've gone and, you've passed it through several people and you've gone and laboured over it and when to pause and when to make loud noises or whatever and where to put the intonations, listen to yourself saying it back. So there's a lot more work process.
Yeah.
So if you get negative feedback, it's so much harder to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah, and, I'm a millennial, so a fragile snowflake, and I want to be brilliant at everything first time.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Sorry to speak for my generation on that.
I mean, you are the voice of a generation. The voice of a generation.
There's a microphone, I'm speaking, voice of a generation. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So you went to New York recently.
Yes.
Tell me about your New York trip in every detail from the beginning. Don't leave a single detail out.
Oh, of course. I've actually brought my diary along, and I thought I could do a reading from it.
I would love that. I would love that more than anything.
Oh,
Dear diary, why am I so alone? It's because I've come to New York and I don't know anyone here. That's why.
I don't write in an entertaining style.
Oh no.
It's like, got to hostel, took a nap, went straight out afterwards. No emotion. Purely, I did this, then I did this. You know, that like childhood, write about your summer holiday.
Yeah.
And then we did this, and then we did that. I'm always worried that someone's going to read it, and
Right.
then, you know, they'll think my emotions are weird, or I'll feel like I will look back and go, oh, cringe, angst, ooh.
So you just write down the facts. And
I keep it to the facts.
Right, just the
Just
facts.
to spare the cringe.
Is this because you're a scientist by nature?
Probably. I am a scientist by nature, so I studied physics at university. And I'd love to say that that's, you know, it's been a source of constant inspiration to my improv, but I think I've had it a couple of times where I've tried to explain some physics concept on stage and then just been like, no, I've forgotten it all.
You see, it's a wonderful thing when you do have a passion and a knowledge and you can bring that into a scene. It's a really lovely thing, and I think it's entirely legitimate to try and, you know, work that in.
Yeah.
But if you can't remember...
Well, I think the thing is, I know way too much about icicles from my physics project.
Really? You see, I would love more things about icicles in improv scenes. I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah, it was a fun project. I don't know. The problem is it doesn't relate back to the improv very well because I'm always too much like, no, but that's not fact. But that's not what my research shows.
But isn't that a wonderful character to play?
Constantly correcting. No, that's just me in life.
Playing with a thin veil.
Playing with a thin veil. So New York.
Tell me about that.
So it was my first time in the US since I was 8. And yeah, it was amazing. I thought arriving at the airport, we'll start at the beginning. Arriving at the airport, I've been told, Emma, just don't be yourself. Just
charming,
be like,
isn't it?
straight face, don't try and smile, don't try and crack a joke, none of that. And I thought it was a beautiful moment. I managed to share a joke with the person at the border.
Wow.
It wasn't like someone said, Emma, don't be funny or try and make a joke with them. And I was like, this is challenge accepted. I'll get myself deported or laugh, try it. I was like, 8-hour flight, no sleep, feeling pretty... You feel pretty rotten at that point.
Yeah.
And
So did you spend the 8 hours preparing some material, Lee?
the material specifically for this border control guy, not at all. I spent the 8 hours trying to sleep and failing.
Oh, no.
I know, it sucks. It's like that on an aeroplane. No, I think he said, oh, put your right hand on the fingerprint thing. And I then immediately put my left hand on it. And he was like, no. I was just like, I'm too dyslexic. I don't know my left from my right. I'm really sorry. To which he was like, me too. We share this connection.
Clunk, you're in. Well done. Welcome to America.
That's how I got in.
There's a little tip for anyone.
Yeah, you know, just find some common thing with the border control. Yeah, and it's like a film set in New York. I mean, I couldn't resist but take like a yellow taxi into Manhattan from JFK. You know, I'm only gonna do it like maybe once. Maybe I'll go back. I'll try and go back. So yeah, took a yellow cab in, and all of the lights are just like what you see in those film sets that are probably filmed in LA. You know, and there's people drinking on the sidewalk out of paper bags, and you're like, oh, that's from a film. Sad, but it is a stereotype. And also, like, I was told the New Yorkers would all be, like, universally really rude, but there were some very nice New Yorkers.
Cool.
You know, like, once my British accent came out, they wanted to be my friend.
That's nice.
Which is very nice. And nice people from other places. And, yeah, the course was really great as well. So this was also my first time doing solo travel properly. And so I thought, taking an improv course, something I love, somewhere I want to go, is like the perfect way to do solo travel.
Yes.
Because then, you know, I'm with these people for 8 hours a day.
Yes.
For 4 days. They have to be my friend. That's how it works.
Yes, that's pretty. That is how it works.
If you're with me for long enough, we're either going to be friends or enemies.
Right.
Either way, there will be emotions involved. And also, our teacher was Aaron Jackson, and he was hilarious. Like, he'd be trying to teach us something and then go off and be incredibly funny, talking about his time as a student in Colorado, which is so removed from, like, UK fire drills that we have in schools. Is they have fire drills, but they also have bear drills.
Wow.
And shooter drills.
Wow.
And you were saying, so fire drills, they get out the building, form orderly lines, registers, get themselves safe. Standard for a bear, they all get out the building, congregate on the sports pitch and make loud noises.
Wow.
Or, for an active shooter, scatter and hide. So you've got to really know what is threatening you at that point.
Yes.
Because there's a very different set, you know.
Yes.
Fire just quietly in line so they can take a register. Bear, loud noises, all congregated together. Shooter, disperse and hide.
Yes. You don't want to get confused as to whether you've got a nightmare. But anyway, yes.
But that was really,
useful advice.
Useful advice.
So it was. How long was the course?
So it was a week-long intensive.
Cool.
The 101 was great. Like, there was so much improv wisdom. I did some great diagrams about, you know, finding the first unusual thing, going for justification. Yeah, I think one note I was getting like, yeah, you found the game, we got that, you just didn't rest it.
Yeah.
That one, you know, where you can't just keep hitting the game button. You've got to rest it, otherwise people will get fatigued of laughing.
Yes.
I mean, I just love that in any of my sets, if people were fatigued of laughing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a terrible outcome,
I know,
does it?
it doesn't.
Yeah, no, you are right there. That is the next step. After learning how to spot the game and play the game. It's then...
How do you rest the game?
Yes, and so you can bring it back again.
But I've met some really amazing improvisers. The group was split between people who'd done lots of improv and me. I'm going to put myself in the lots of improv category.
I invented my own form.
And people who it was their completely first time doing improv. It's quite interesting to do a 101 class with these two different types of people. It worked like really well. Also, what was quite weird was there was 4 Brits on the course. Out of a class of 16 in New York, 4 of them were from the UK.
That does tell you something, doesn't it? I don't know what that tells us. I feel that tells us something.
They're all jumping over the pond.
Yes. Had you met them before?
No, I hadn't.
All right, okay.
That would have been even weirder if it was someone I'd met before and just met them again in New York. No. I mean, but some of them who'd been doing it for years and were just really skilled, and it's lovely to learn improv with someone who's really skilled. And there's one guy who just knew exactly what to bring to the scene.
Right, yeah.
And it was always a joy to watch and a joy to play with him. And it's like, it's it's nice to be around and play with someone where you're like, this is what I want to be like as an improviser. I want to be the person who knows exactly what to bring to the scene, who, will support the other person, who can anticipate the next move, and it was great.
Cool. So what sort of things did you cover on the course then? And was it a lot of it what you covered here before?
Yeah,
or?
so a lot of it was what I'd already covered.
Right, okay.
Which it is going to be in any introducing, improv course. It's all made up. So there was the standard, the name game, the usual sort of game, those sorts of games.
When you say the name game, what specifically do you mean?
Where I'm Elephant Emma.
Is that what you go for? Is that your
No,
go-to?
that's like the one I never go for. I don't know why I said that one.
I sometimes go for Suspicious Stuart.
Suspicious. Ah.
I mean, that doesn't say whether I am someone who's acting suspiciously or someone who feels suspicious.
Whereas I completely cocked that up. It wasn't even like a descriptive.
just
a word. Just a word. I am Eggplant Emma. Yeah. It was quite nice actually because there was so many British people. Americanisms were translated into Britishisms for our benefit. Like in kindergarten, primary school for you guys.
I'm thinking most of these things we probably can work out.
Yeah.
From the context, it's not that different a language.
It's not that different, but it was I thought a very sweet move to make us feel included.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were things that although I think I used once the suggestion of viaduct, and they're like, is that a British thing? No. It's got a Latin root or something.
Yes, it's strange when you make those suggestions and then I thought everyone knew what a teasmade was. It's like, turns out not. It's like...
The worst is when you make a suggestion and it's a word that you don't really know the meaning of. And then you have to be like, totally know what that means. I'm not trying to think of a word that is awkward to know. Oh, yeah, I totally know what loquacious means. I wasn't just trying to sound clever by shouting out an unusual word.
But God bless you for trying something different, because it's not the quality. It's not the quality of the suggestion; it's the quality of the improvisation that's important. But isn't it nice when you have a word that you don't get all the time? At least you have new links to make with that word before you do your scene.
Yeah.
So, what would you say the biggest lessons that you took away from your time in New York were?
So I think I was trying to think of that. So I was looking through my notes of what I had. I loved this one, which was the most important thing about walk-ons is walking away.
Ah, yes.
The fact that a walk-on is a support move, and your walk-on should still work in 30 seconds. The walk-on's not the joke.
Right.
The joke is what's going on.
Ah, that's interesting.
So, if you've got a walk-on, 30 seconds down the line, it should still work. It shouldn't be a time-dependent joke.
Ah.
You're supporting the scene, but the game that's happening with the two improvisers, that's the game. You're not the game.
Yes. That's really interesting. I've not heard that before.
Yeah. Also, walk-ons are like the Force. Control the Force and use for good. It can be used for ill. Darth Walk-on.
I think walk-ons are really tricky because all too often it's because, hey, there's a scene. It's going well. I'd like to be in that scene. Oh, I'm walking on. Whereas actually, you want to be doing walk-ons for scenes that aren't going well. And if you can walk on, clarify something in a scene, and then walk off again, that's a really beautiful thing to do.
Yeah. I think Arfi taught us a wonderful way. Also, when a person's being described in a scene, which is this person who's being described the Candyman or Godot?
Right.
If it's the Candyman, then if it's said 3 times, that person's got to appear.
Right, okay.
Whereas if it's Godot, i.e. Waiting for Godot, the film, they can be spoken of many a time and never appear, and the beauty in the scene isn't diminished by the fact that they never appear.
Yes. That's really interesting, because I've always favoured the Candyman over Godot, but it's nice that you can do it either way. Yeah.
I thought that was... I've not seen either film, but I...
It's a play. It's
Or
a
play.
Godot to play.
Well, yeah, it was a play that was made into a film.
Did they make it into a film, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's like, you know...
I mean,
like
I think
any of those films.
I think Candyman was also. I think that was on Broadway before. No, it wasn't. It was just. I've never seen it either. I just know that you're supposed to look into a mirror, say Candyman 3 times, and then the Bertie Bassett. I imagine that is licorice all sorts. Come on, then you get to eat licorice all sorts, which is. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the film either.
It's actually a really fun thing to do, and any time you're in front of a mirror,
Really?
just say
Say
Candyman
Candyman,
3 times,
Candyman.
and Bertie Bassett will walk in.
Does it work? Does it work if you're playing a podcast out loud and there's a mirror in the room, and then on the podcast they go Candyman, 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 and then the monster will come out? If that happens, do tweet at Improv London, because we'd love to.
You'll hear our screams in the police tapes. When this is taken to court, when they're looking through what's happened to our bodies, so you know, it was true. He appeared.
I think we're pretty safe from mirrors in this room, which makes me think probably vampire. Anyway, cool. So you came back from New York, a changed performer, an improved improviser.
Improved improviser. I would love to say that was it. I was changed immediately. I spent a lot of money to go to New York. And
if I don't come back better, well, what was the point of that then?
I improved a bit, I think. I improved a bit. I learned some new things.
That's cool.
It's cool. It's always difficult to say when you don't have, recordings of myself before and after on a day that is exactly the same. And
from a scientific point of view, it's very difficult to measure.
Where's the split variable testing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the question we're all asking. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, how do you... And also, it's not a linear progression. You are not very good and then you get good. It's ups and downs.
Ups and downs, yeah. I went on the stage 3 times in New York. And if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
I've heard it said. I've heard it sung.
I came back, so I didn't make it there. Wasn't a one-way ticket to New York. Wasn't immediately spotted for my role in an up-and-coming improvised sitcom.
Well, they knew that you're a one-person monogroupist.
I was trying to get my name out there as well.
Yeah.
Tribe, she's here. Just walking around the streets. Hello, Tribe.
And did the people on the course become your friends?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, they did.
That would be
They were very lovely people.
That would be really.
It would have been really awful if it was like, no, they all turned against me. I was basically a pariah to that group.
They were jealous of your talent. That's why I'd say if that happened. They were jealous of your talent.
I joke about it. Honestly, my ego is not that big. It just oscillates between incredibly insecure and incredibly large.
Right, okay, fair enough. It would be quite something to become a pariah within, a week, even on an intensive course. You'd have to be doing some pretty strong moves.
Yeah.
To do that. Cool. And did you get to see a bit of New York while you were out there?
Yeah, I saw loads of New York, and I saw loads of UCB shows while I was out there. It was actually really nice. My first day that I was there, Shem from C3 Something was his last night in New York. So I sort of got off the plane, had a nap, and then...
As detailed in
as detailed in my note. If you were paying attention earlier, then you would know. And he'd got complimentary tickets to a show, so I walked into a free
lovely
and hilarious show.
Cool.
Got to see, yeah. Though I was so jet lagged, I can't even remember who I saw. I know I saw Improv.
Right, cool, excellent.
I think I laughed.
Yes, good. Did you watch UCB and go, well, they're all right. They're just a bit like C3 something, really. They're like the American version of C3 something. You can put that on the posters, by the way.
On the posters. C3 something have an amazing reputation out in New York. That was
Do they?
They do.
Do they?
And
who told you that? Was it Shem?
No, loads of people. When I was like, oh, yeah, I do improv in London. And they were like, oh, there are some really great guys over in London. I don't know if you know them, C3 something. I'm like, yeah, I do know of them.
know them.
I'll tell them you said that.
On the podcast.
And I'll tell everyone in London.
Because everybody listens to this podcast. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Don't take you for granted. Cool, it's nice, isn't it?
It was different. I think in New York, I can't put my finger on how it was exactly different. But it may have just been the accents, but it felt different.
Right, yeah. Everyone's accent was a lot more convincing than it is in London. Cool. So, when you're performing, what can people do to delight you?
I saw this wonderfully before. They can pee before the show, they can laugh loudly and listen quietly.
From the audience?
Oh, that's from the audience.
That's from the audience,
right,
oh, yeah. Okay. So if they're performing with you...
No, I'm all about the audience.
Oh, right, yeah, fair enough. It's very good to consider them.
So from another performer, I guess... what is it? When they say no to me, I'm always just like, first rule of improv, yes, and and that's what's going on in my head. So I was like, don't say no to me. Also, what's the other one? I hate being gifted as a child.
That's interesting.
If anyone tries to make me a child, I'm always just like, you dick.
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever liked playing.
It's interesting, actually, because I went through a period of playing children in scenes, and Carleen called me out on this, and actually it was because I didn't want the responsibility or the power in the scene, and if I was a child, then I was kind of low status. Recently, I went through a phase of never playing children. Recently, I've started playing children, but high-status children.
Yeah.
Which is kind of terrifying.
Well, I think that's how you do play children. And actually, I think I did actually have a fun scene with Zara once from ABOB, where I was playing a high-status child.
So
Zara...
Hilarious and terrifying.
Zara made a bold move of sitting like a teddy bear on the stage, to which I went, oh, I love you, Teddy, you're my best friend. Then thinking, shit, Teddy can't talk. So then it was, I'm so glad we irradiated you, Teddy, and gave you a life force. Now you can be my friend forever. But yeah, that sort of child who has created their teddy bear friend.
Yeah.
You know, to be their best friend and doesn't understand that teddy bear might want to do its own thing every now and again. No, that's not what teddy bears do.
Yes, it was both hilarious and terrifying. Just two of my favourite things from improv. So the big sort of last question, and it's kind of, I think we've almost got to that through what we were just talking about there, but what is your signature move when you're on stage? What is it people are going to go, hey, that classic tribe?
Classic tribe. Oh man, this requires a level of self-awareness that I'm not sure I have. A classic tribe would be a not good accent.
Right, okay.
You know, I'll go for an accent, commit to it, and 9 out of 10 times it's a terrible accent, but occasionally I really nail that Australian twang. What else do I do? I like to think I sometimes make good premises. I will break during the scene. and corpse for a bit. Also, just as like an audience move of mine, you'll know I'm in the audience because it'll go quiet and I will find something very funny in a serious scene, and then you'll just hear a ha ha from my loud. Actually, that was quite a nice one.
Yeah.
Usually it's a really horrific cackle. I think I did it once in a show and someone was just like, "Oh, Mother, I've got something to tell you. I'm addicted to drugs." And I just went, "Ha ha!" So that sounded awful for the podcast listeners.
I'll balance it out. That's the one bit where I'll reduce the amplification. Is all right.
Please do. My team members in the office are always asking for that. Just reduce the amplification, Emma.
So you're good at premises. You're good at
laughing,
corpsing. You're good at coming up with premises.
There's a nice thing to take away from it. I do accents sometimes. I'll often be quite a creepy character.
That's what I was asking about.
Yeah, that's what you really. Yeah,
I didn't want to say it, but that's what I was asking about.
Intense creepy character. Yes, I can.
That's what I love. That's the tried move that I love.
It's
the intense creepy character. Tell me about those.
Oh, I had a great one with Steve Howe. We sat down and playing around with the chairs for a minute, and then I sort of draped myself over Steve and told him how he was such a good boy and he was my favourite child, and asked him all about how his day had been, and he was like, Mum, I'm 40 now and it's a bit creepy. I was like, oh, but your mum is special, boy, and was just very overbearing. Had his boss round for dinner, wanted to know his progress report, was cutting up and masticating food for everyone at the table. Masticating is just a hilarious word, so.
Also, yes.
And after the show, I think Steve's one of his close family friends came on and was like, "You really nailed Steve's mum. Do you know her?"
Wow.
I've pretty thrown Steve under a bus there.
If ever there was truth in comedy, you had discovered it that night. Yes, I loved that. That character in particular stood out, and I was like, this is hilarious and terrifying. Which I would suggest is perhaps your signature move.
That's my signature move. Yeah. In life, too.
I made this.
That's improv!